Next speaker. And now we'll have like a governmental perspective, and the title of this talk is Government Data Lake and Future of Digital Society. And the speaker is Nikola Modrusan, who is Deputy Secretary at Central State Office for the Development of Digital Society. So without further ado, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Hello to everyone. Do we have a presentation online? Okay, once more time, I'm Nikola. I'm coming from the Central State Office for Digital Society, for digitalization. I'm head of IT infrastructure, and today I will try to tell you a few words about the establishment of Central Data Lake Repository and Business Intelligence and Analytics System. So we are under the government as a Central State Office responsible for the digitalization in Croatia. And regarding that, we have a lot of, I would say, reports and insights. And when we start with programming the new RRF, that's Resistance and Resilience Fund, we came to the conclusion that a lot of ministerial or government bodies has different kind of business intelligence systems based on different kind of technologies and so on. And then we came to the conclusion that the best way is to consolidate all this data, use this data, and to create some kind of useful dashboard reports for that reason. So I'm trying to tell you why government data lake. So first of all, I think that's already cliche that we are enhancing the data-driven decision making. As you know, in the government we have 21 ministries and so on. In each ministry we have different kind of business intelligence, and regarding the decision making, you know that the best way is to use and to add some value on the data. So using enhanced data-driven the decision-making process. Improving transparency. You know that if you are reading the papers right now, everything is about the transparency, and I will tell you a little bit more. We are creating on this data lake because we are now in the final phase of implementing data lake in the country. Our first pods as a pilot was using the data lake technologies to create system for showing the transparency in the way of spending public money from the municipalities and from the government side for the municipalities and from the state at all. So next is cost-effective data management. So we already heard, I don't know, 10 times today that data management, data governance. So that's our terms that are right now in the focus of also from the side of country, from the side of EU. Cross-department collaboration. So you cannot create a data lake if we are not speaking about the cross-department collaboration. We are here speaking about the collaboration between institutions, and that's very, very difficult because in the country, the ministries, the institutions are silos, and we, as a Central State Office who is responsible for digitalizations, have issues, problems, or whatever you want to force institutions to have collaboration, especially in the term of data, because everybody are focused on their data. They don't want to share data. They are using their own data. They don't want to connect on registers and so on. And especially knowledge sharing, because you know, if you have thousands of government institutions, you cannot have in each institution some, I don't know, 5 people who know how to use this data, and you cannot have 500 analytics or people who have competence in digital skills to create dashboard. So that's very, very difficult. And right now we are trying with this project in one way to upskill the digital competences for the data. Also, when you have the data, you can monitor and create some kind of error intervention systems. Because, for example, fraud detection, you have fraud detection in the way of public procurement, in the transparency, in the tax, and so on. So this is also one of our goals why a government data lake is needed. And also, you have evidence-based policy making. That's very connected to the first, so enhanced data-driven decision making. Because if you create the new policies, then it's the best way to use the value from the data. So evidence-based policy making, and as my previous speaker said, okay, predictive analytics and forecasting using machine learning. That's also one of the goals in which we are going. One of the ways in which we are going. As I said, this project is funded from the National Resilience and Resilience Plan. The investment is worth something about 16 million euro. I know that seems quite a lot, but if you are buying the hardware, if you are buying the software, if you are creating education, promotion, and so on, that's not so big money from my side. And especially if you're creating data lake on the level of country. Implementation period is, I would say, up to middle of 2026. So right now we are somewhere in the middle. In the next few slides, I will try to tell you the difference between the data warehousing and difference between the data lake and where we are going in the way of data lake. Traditional business analytics process, you know, that starts with the user requirement. You need to define, and you need to already have defined database schema in which you are pushing the data using the ETL tools, so using the ETL pipeline to extract required data. And then when you push the data into the data warehouse, you use queries to show the results. And what is the problem? So problem, it's not problem, it's one kind of issue, because all data is not immediately required and it's not stored into the database. And when you want to add the new data, you need to repeat entire process. You need to find out where is this data, where is this attribute. You need to upgrade the ETL. You need to create the new schema or upgrade the schema, and then again create the new dashboard. So regarding that, it's one phrase that you already heard, that so there is no good data, but there is good and bad data. So that's not that's not, if we are talking about the data, that's not quite true, because right now all new big data thinking is that all data has a value, so that there is no bad data, and all data has his potential value. So if we need to have in our database all data, and all data has potential value, then we need to have some kind of technology or concept or framework in which we will store all data, and then we will use data when we are needing. So the difference between traditional and the new big data thinking is that we are gathering data from all sources. We are storing, so we are pushing all this data into the data lake. We are catalog. We are creating the catalog. We are describing. We are creating the metadata about this data, and then afterwards we are just repeating two phases. We are not repeating the ETL. We are not repeating to defining schema. We are just analyzing and showing the results. So creating the dashboards and creating the queries on this data. So slightly the difference between data lake on one slide. So regarding the data warehousing, we have the structured data. Regarding the data lake, we have the raw data. So we are just dumping all data into the data lake. Besides the data warehousing, we have required extract, transform, load, and entire process that I already mentioned a little bit before. And afterwards, there is a very, very good point in the way of data lake. So without the metadata, if we are not describing this data, we are turning this data into the swamp pretty fast. So the most important thing is that in the data lake we need to create data catalog with details about this data. Before we start the data lake, we can conclusion that we have a few requirements about that. So everything is about collaboration, because we have different kind of institutions. Then we have the data asset catalog. So we need to create a data catalog about all data, about all attributes that we are putting or pushing into the data lake. We have different kind of data, and we need to data set, just blend this data set into one. Then you have data discovery and recommendation. And what I told you on the start of this presentation is that in the middle are data analysts and data sciences. So this is very, I would say, very big problem in the country, because we in the ministry doesn't have this. Our people doesn't have this kind of skill, and we need just to find out right persons on the right place and try to upskill their competences in the way that they just start to think about the data, just start to think about preparation of data, using this data, creating dashboards, and so on. This is the scheme of our platform right now. So it's I will not say the traditional process, but on the left side we have different kind of sources. You have the streaming and batching process to push the data into the platform, into the data lake. On one more thing, so we have the purchase of goods on the start of this project. Regarding the hardware layer, who is under the platform, we have the pure storage. On the virtualization layer and also the layer of entire platform, we have for analytics database we have Green Crown database, who is based on the PostgreSQL. So we are going as a country in the direction of open technologies. We also have for data management and for data catalog we have the talent. So we purchased the talent for that, and for the presentation or for front end for showing the results from the data set from the queries, we have Tableau right now, and we are also trying to use the Power BI at the end, but right now we have the Tableau. The idea is to put data into one big S3 storage bucket, and afterwards each line ministry will have their own, I would say, the refinery zone or project zone in which they will have their own bucket and their own catalog. So we are from one side we will have the team in our office in our office or in office, because the office is provider for the data lake on the level of country. So we will have a team of people who will work on this data lake, and from other side we will try to upskill the competences in the line ministries from the side of using Tableau and then using of this data. So this you have there the bullets. So you have the CDU and the user. The CDU is government state cloud. So this is our cloud platform in which this data lake is implemented. A few more things about the data strategy. First bullet, first key is that we need to create the framework for cross-sectoral governance of data. I will show you how much we have from the European side the legal acts and legal documents in power just in the segment of data. So we need to manage the cross-sectoral use of data. Okay, we have the data lake, we buy the equipment and so on, but we need to have the scalable infrastructure for viable data markets. Then the third part is that I already mentioned is the skills, and to open this data to the simple and medium enterprises. We are already doing that because in our office we are responsible for the open data portal. Last week we have the Datathon in the fair, so Faculty for Engineering, where we are trying to evangelize the open data as a field, and we will also next year, I hope, include this data stored in the data lake into the Datathon. So proposal is that we need to empower individuals and we need to invest in skills and also to open data to small and medium enterprises. So our goal is to connect data from the data lake and also from the open data portal. So one kind of data sets from the data lake you will see on the open data portal. You will have possibility to download and to create some value add on this data. And at the end, not last but least, proposal for common European data spaces. I will show you a little bit here. I will show you that our also mission, which is pushing from the European side, is to create European data spaces. What is data space? Data space is, I think that you are all know a lot of things into the data. It's, I would say, small data marts. So this is the part of data lake which scope is health, which scope is business, which scope is tax, finance part, and so on. So this fourth point is telling us that we need to connect our data lake to European data spaces, and at the end, this European single market. We have European digital strategy. I would just mention that we have the white paper on the artificial intelligence, and their pillars are the first pillar is the new digital strategy of the Commission. So the data strategy and artificial intelligence are our main focus of European Commission. They are focusing on the people as a first. They are people first and promote European values. When we are talking about defend and promote European values and rights, we are talking about the GDPR, we are talking about the Data Act, Data Governance Act, Data Flow Regulation, Interoperability Act, and so on. So everything is focused on the people. And as I said, we are also focused on the small and medium enterprises. And regarding that, we need to open this data. Access to data and ability to use are essential for innovation and growth. So if we don't open the data, if we don't give this data to people who are dealing and who are evangelists in the way of open data, creating the new value from that, we cannot have innovation at all. As I said last week, we had the Datathon on the fair, Faculty of Engineering, the idea was, or the aim was, to use open data to create the new systems, new dashboards, reports, and so on. And we can say that we have about 15 teams from different teams of students which use the data from the open data portal and create magnificent systems or dashboards and so on. So it's very interesting to work with on that way. European Data Strategy, European Data Act. I will not bother you with European Union stuff, but the idea is that data can flow within EU and across sectors. So we will create data lake. They will create the data spaces. For example, data space for e-health. We will have sharing the data between those two systems, and that's the best way to use data and to share data over the European Union. It's, as I said, GDPR, Data Act, Data Governance Act, and so on. So European rules and values are fully respected, and rules of access and use of data are very practical and clear. So you can have the policy, you can have the act, you can have whatever legal form you want, but you need to have clear governance mechanism to use and to be empowered to use all these systems that will be available in the next few years. I'm just going back to European data spaces I already mentioned. So we will have. We are trying to create a data space related to, I don't know, public administration, skills, finance, agriculture, and so on. And from the left side, I already mentioned, you need to be full respect to GDPR. You need to have horizontal framework for data governance and data access. If we are talking about the framework for data governance, you know that we have Data Governance Act who will be in power in Croatia in the September. Then you have free flow of data across sectors and countries. So we have this European data spaces that I already mentioned. You need to have IT capacity, including cloud storage, processing, and services in the country. As I said, we have our data center, who is mainly implemented in APIS. We have about near 700 institutions, and right now we buy the new equipment in worth about 100 million of kuna. So we are pushing all our registers to be stored into this data cloud. We are creating the government service bus. So right now we have about 50 registers connected in one point, and everybody in the country, when they are creating the new system, they need to use the data from the registers. So this is also connected with the data lake, because the data lake will be one component in that ecosystem. So that our mission is to create systems that when you are using the, I don't know, e-građani, a citizen or some service on that platform, you don't need to put the data that the government already has about you. So we know your name, we know where you are living, where you are living. We know which car you have, and so on and so on. So it's not we are going. This is related to the Tallinn Declaration that said once only principle. So if we have the data, if we have the information about you, we will not ask you once more. So the data lake is center right now, and the aim on one of the goals is to share the data and to push the data into data spaces on demand of European Union. I already said you have the agriculture, finance, business, and so on and so on. And as needs to be. The government needs to have dashboards, results, and everything that I mentioned in the second slide, my slide. So policy making based on the data, all decision making based on the data and so on needs to be based on the data lake. So, for example, right now you have the Ministry of Labor who wants to data about, needs to have information about the labor. In which region in Croatia you have, in which region of Croatia, what kind of people do you need? For now, I think that we don't know this information. Regarding the demography, we need to have information. Okay, in which municipality, in which region, in which state measures for demography are good or not. So we are trying to create the data lake, to use this data and to have policy making and decision making on one place. And at the end, the European Union, European Commission, are forcing us with a different kind of legal part, the legal acts that are in power or will be in power to go into direction is the data. So the data, you know, the cliche is the goal. So right now we have the Data Governance Act about the governance. We have the GDPR. We have the directive on open data and use of public sector information. So regarding the open data. And for example, you have regulation of framework for the free flow of non-personal data. So right now, our mission is that all based or registers that have authentic data need to be stored in our country. So we are not allowing to store, I don't know, OIP system or birth register in the data center somewhere in Dublin or whatever. So our mission is to store our data, our registers, our authentic sources into the data lakes or data storage on the national level. And if you are in that last, you have regulation, the framework for the free flow of non-personal data. So if you are talking about the register, the non-personal data are also the register of infrastructure. You know, infrastructure is not personal data. It's register in which you have all, I don't know, traffic infrastructure in the country. And if you have this data, for example, in the segment of war, so that's very, very crucial information. So we are not right now in the line with this regulation, and we are thinking about to have some kind of collaboration with the European Commission, because we are thinking about that register for infrastructure, even he doesn't have non-personal data, needs to be on the ground of our country. And I mentioned that we are in the phase of finishing implementation of data lake, and our first project will be related to the government budget transparency. So you know, we have in the Bjelovar, Samovar, and I'm sure you have in a lot of other municipalities, we have this kind of application. But we are right now, we will force that this one application will be on the level of country. So we are raising the transparency, and we will show how municipalities, state, and also the cities are spending their own budget. So this is our proof of concept, in which we will use the entire technologies from the data lake platform. So plans for 24, 26. I think this slide is not working, but I will try to explain what I mean by plans. First of all, if I'm talking about all slides that we passed on this presentation, we need to implement also. We need to implement test and everything about raising up the data lake platform. We will try to use the data tons to show that we have some kind of value and upskill and using this data tons to upskill the competences in the way of digital skills. We will try to promote we will try to promote this data lake over the ministries in the way that we will push the education of civil servants in the way that who has competences to be some kind of data analyst. We need to implement Data Governance Act. We need to implement all these European acts that are right now into the implementation. We need to educate also from my side, from the side of Central State Office, because we also don't have the competence to even manage this big project. And we also, as I said, the project is worth about 60 million euro. But if you are talking about data lake from the government side on the level of country, then I think that we will need to have a lot of more money to raise up right capacities and right data lake platform that we want. Thank you very much.